Let's go! Will LSU avenge their season-opening loss last year to Mississippi State this Saturday? So, we're going to break down so many things, and obviously the battle wounds from this game was the 623 yards given up through the air. But the ironic thing about the game was LSU probably still should have won if one player had done a better job for the LSU offense, ironically. So obviously comment down below, who do you think will win? And that one player was Chasen Hines. Now this was his first start at right guard, and so far this year Chasen Hines had a really good game against UCLA. He sat out versus McNeese and was a little rough versus Central Michigan last week, and we've done a full film study on this play. What should have happened was Chasen Hines should have picked up this A-gap blitzer, and we let him run unblocked, and if we would have just picked him up, Miles Brennan would have worked backside and thrown an easy touchdown to Jeray Jenkins or Trey Palmer, and that obviously was a 4-point swing in the game because we had to settle for a field goal. So that's going to be key. Before we get into LSU's pass defense, we already did a full film study about Will Rogers and the Mississippi State offense. I want to spend more time today, though, on the LSU offense. Key number one, blitz pickup, blitz communication. And so far this season, LSU has actually been better, and that's really impressive considering UCLA blitzed on nearly every play. You can make the case that Max Johnson's pocket presence was as big of an issue as LSU's blitz pickup. And that's as much to do with the quarterback as it does with the offensive line. Max Johnson in this last game, because of the tempo offense, he was playing a lot faster. He needs to continue playing faster as well. Number two is something that I found to be very interesting about this Mississippi State game last year. Yes, this is one of the rare times you'll see Eli Ricks ever get beat, but overall, this was actually a really good defensive snap here from LSU, okay? We're showing them an exotic look, and I would like to see more exotic looks from LSU. And what they do is they actually twist Jacoby Stevens around here, and we get him unblocked coming around this edge. So this is what we want, and we'll take this all day. Eli Ricks throwing a ball up in man coverage. So point number two, as far as pass defense is concerned, once again, if you want a full breakdown of Mississippi State, Will Rogers, and their really talented receivers, you can see our film study from yesterday. Point number two, will Durante Jones mix things up with this defense? Yes, the LSU pass rush is playing really well right now, and they lead the nation in sacks. But that has as much to do with who they played these last 2 weeks than it does pretty much anything else. And it did help that LSU jumped out to early leads, which makes pass rushing that much more simple. Now, Mississippi State's pass protection is prone to getting beat some of the times, and Will Rogers is a very sackable quarterback. He is one of the few, if not the only, pure pocket passer left on LSU's schedule. So that's obviously a really good thing. But Mississippi State gets rid of the ball really quickly, and this is a Mike Leach air raid offense, so you can't just play man under coverages against. And point number three, let's touch on special teams. LSU was really sloppy this past game. Now, the good news is LSU didn't need Cade York to kick any deep field goals because LSU was able to finish drives. But overall, and shout out to Cade York getting that Velveeta sponsorship. All in the cheese, baby. You got to love it. As you see here, Mississippi State was able to return a kickoff for a touchdown. Now, obviously, Avery Atkins is a kickoff specialist, and he's really, really good at that very thing. But let's just say he doesn't boot it into the end zone every time. You need to be on the lookout for this because obviously last year LSU's kickoff coverage gave up not one, they gave up a deep kickoff return to Vanderbilt, and they gave up a kickoff return against Ole Miss. Will Trey Palmer be healthy enough to be back to return punts? Will they stick with Coy Moore? Obviously, Derek Stingley, more than likely, is not going to be there. So LSU's return game needs to get better. And one adjustment I would like to see made, please take Kayshon Boutte off of kickoff return. He was already kind of banged up. He's playing a lot of snaps already. We do not want a Jalen Waddle situation. I just don't see the benefit of playing him on special teams at all. even though he is one of the best gunners on punt team I've ever seen. So now we get to key players, all right? Now, let's be honest. The big story is Derek Stingley Jr. being questionable. The second time in 2 consecutive years, basically, he gets hurt a few days, or in this case last year, hours before the Mississippi State game. Derek Stingley, I mean, that's obviously, that just sucks on so many different levels, but part of your best ability is being available, and we're just going to roll the guys that we're going to have. Touched on this yesterday. They really struggled blocking twist and loops, and that was the case right here. We're actually running a twist stunt, and Andre Anthony was able to get home. Ali Gay was also breaking through here. He had a really good game. He'll be healthy and back. And even with the great twist stunt, because we were playing man coverage underneath, Jay Ward was able to get beaten. And once again, Jay Ward was also recovering from an injury. He just had to play because obviously Stingley wasn't available, and it killed them here. Once again, this is a mesh variation, a little bit deeper than normal, but still, once again, these deep and shallow crossers are going to be key. So obviously, key player number 1, Derek Stingley, is out. Will Cordell Flott, Jay Ward, and the rest of the secondary actually get some help with some better scheme. And also, just a little bit of a bonus for you, I hope we see number 19. Now, obviously, number 19, Jabril Cox, last year got a pick 6, and he also provided some great coverage here. Okay, and we also got a tip pass here from Jay Ward to help out. So that's obviously a really good thing. Will we see more Mike Jones this game? Now, we get to key player number 2. I'm just going to list all the true freshmen simply because they have basically changed this entire offense. I have seen Mississippi State's run defense actually get beat on the edge a few times as far as carrying the football is concerned. Also, I could see Corey Kiner having a few big runs this game. Jack Besh has really helped out not only in the passing game, but with his blocking as well. It's really been helpful. So we'll see. Hopefully LSU will be able to find some ways to get the running game going. But for the most part, if they can protect a little bit better, these true freshmen should have another nice outing. So player number 3, we always like to point out a coach, okay? And obviously this coach in this situation is Ed Orgeron. There's a lot of pressure on him to win this game. Now, sometimes you have things like this where you call the absolute perfect play, and because we get bull rush, Miles Brennan's hand gets hit when it would have been an easy touchdown right here to Race McMath. He legit would have been walking into the end zone if we just protected that a little better. So once again, you saw it earlier, one player on the offensive line cost LSU 11 points in this game, and we probably more than likely win if we have those 11 points, or, circumstances change. So yeah, you can't really put that on Ed Orgeron there, but overall the game management needs to be better for LSU, because if it's not, they're going to lose another close game. Now, we've talked about LSU's poor third quarters, especially on the road. That was once again the case against UCLA, and the overall lack of in-game adjustments, not knowing where to spot the ball, botching instant replay in 2 games this year. It's not good. It's really, really not good. And I understand that the team looked better with the tempo adjustment, and I give Ed Orgeron credit, for running more tempo, and that's good, okay? But overall, as far as game management is concerned, we've got to be better in this instance. But my point about Ed Orgeron is more so off the field, okay? So we spent 10 minutes on the subject yesterday in our Will Rogers film study, but we'll do it again now because it is so very important that Ed Orgeron addresses his team not only before the game, but during halftime, because this game could get ugly, okay? Mississippi State is a highly emotional team with a coach who is rather exotic. A perfect example of this was the brawl at the end of last year's game, where there was no suspensions at all for Mississippi State. Okay? This is a team, or one of these teams is going to have 2 losses by the end of the day. It's going to be 11 a.m. It's going to be loud. It's going to be raucous. Don't commit any personal foul, extracurricular 15-yard penalties, and make sure that the team does not get in any type of fight or brawl before, after, or during this game. Look, let's be honest. The way the public views LSU football right now is not the absolute best, and getting something like that to happen to our program would not be a very good thing right now. So not only in-game discipline, but just overall program discipline is going to be needed for this game against Mississippi State, because it could get ugly. So we have perfect weather, a surface that both of the players like to play on. I love, and I mean love, the over here. It is set at 55 right now. I think it's crept up to 56 in some places. I still love the over here. I don't know how anyone thinks LSU's pass coverage, which, once again, the explosive play rate per EPA per play has not been good. I don't think LSU's going to run more zone. I think they can get home with their 4 guys. That's not going to work against Mississippi State. I'm sorry, simply because they get the football out so quick, and their wide receivers are better than what they were last year, okay? Even though you're looking at Eli Ricks making one of the best interceptions you'll ever see an LSU player make, high pointing that ball. Even with that said, which set of wide receivers has really challenged LSU up to this point? Not really anyone. So, look, Will Rogers is a decent quarterback. He's not great. And Max Johnson is coming off his best game of the season. And, of course, both of these teams are going to be playing at an extremely high pace. So 56.5, I'm actually shocked that this number is that low. I think this will be a game that gets well into the 30s by the fourth quarter. I don't know how this is going to be a defensive struggle on either side, especially considering LSU has found a set of wide receivers that they like a lot. So because of that, my favorite play in this game is the over. Boom! So before we give you this prediction, you're looking at a Joe Burrow Luminance rookie card. We're giving this one out tomorrow in the post-game live stream, so make sure you check that out. So look, as far as the prediction is concerned, I'm actually not going to go with my gut for a few reasons. The first thing, last week we had our most accurate prediction yet, and look, I hope we're doing the same thing here, and I'm not going to lie to you. There's so many things when it comes to me actually picking a college football game that is telling me to pick Mississippi State. Okay, what I normally like to look at are 4 keys. Who's at home? Who's the coaching staff? Who do you have at quarterback? And is there a gap in the offensive lines? And based on what we've seen so far, Mississippi State's offensive line, while they aren't the absolute best, they are certainly better than LSU's. I feel like the quarterback matchup here is a push. And obviously, Mississippi State's coaching staff is more experienced, and they outcoached us pretty badly last year. So, yeah, and they're at home, and they are the underdogs. Man, that just is a recipe for disaster. So my gut is telling me to feel very uncomfortable about this game for a lot of reasons. But I'm actually going to go with my fandom here. I am going to pick LSU to win this game 41-35. Okay, why not? Because we were so accurate, let's just be accurate again. And I do want to save one last little thing, all right? Now, I've always had this view as a fan. You could do whatever you want as a fan. That's why you come here, okay? You don't have to hold back any certain type of opinion or feeling on this channel, okay, when it comes to LSU football. However, I don't like this idea that you should root for LSU to lose so it could speed up the firing process of a coach. I simply don't like that, because that is a disservice to the guys that are currently fighting in that locker room. So you will never see me on this channel wish LSU to lose a game. It's just not me. Once again, I don't care what type of fan you are, and it's perfectly fine that you do that. I just think it's kind of strange, because football games are so few and far between, and each one of them are very precious. So I will never actively root for LSU to lose. This is not the NFL where when you lose, you get better draft position. No, I want LSU to win, even though I am not in love with the current head coach, as are a lot of you. There is not a bone in my body that will ever root for LSU to lose. And I just don't tend to buy into that idea. I just think it's bad juju. Anyway, enough of that. Once again, we'll see you tomorrow. And Joe Burrow rookie card. It's going to one of you. It is Power Hour LSU. Boom! We're doing steaks tonight. Let's go.